Okay, now we want to look at reducing rational expressions. So what if I have something like this? You cannot solve that with a calculator. You cannot start canceling x's and like 21 is 7 times 3. You can't be canceling anything like that. You must have a product in the numerator and a product in the denominator. So the numerator, there's nothing I can do with that. But the denominator, I can factor that. Two numbers that multiply together to give me negative 21, but at the same time they add up together to give me negative 4. Well, that would be negative 7 and positive 3. And now these will cancel, and I'll be left with just 1 in the numerator, x minus 7, because I could have rewritten that like that. And that's my reduced form. Now in WebWork, you would have to enter in 1 backslash, and you have more than one term there. There is a PDF sheet in Canvas that shows you how to enter these. If you have more than one term in numerator denominator, you have to put parentheses around it. So that's how you would have to enter your answer into WebWork. Okay. All right, what if I have something like this? Well, again, you're going to have to factor numerator and denominator and get a product. So for the numerator, two numbers that multiply together to give me negative 6, but add up together to give me positive 1. That's going to be positive 3 and negative 2. And here I can see that these have a 10 in common. So I'll factor it out. And now that I have a product in numerator and denominator, I can make that cancellation. And now there's nothing more to be done. That is the lowest form. Okay. Let's have a look at something like this. Oh, yeah, let me just, in WebWork, how would you enter that answer? Well, your numerator has more than one term. You've got to put it in parentheses. Okay. If you write that without parentheses, then what you've told it is your answer is x plus the fraction 3/10, and that's not the same thing as that. Okay, so let's look at something like this. Okay, you cannot cancel the x squares. You cannot do that. You don't have a product in numerator denominator, so you cannot cancel those. So I need to factor the numerator and the denominator separately. Two numbers, because this is leading with x squared by itself, two numbers that multiply together to give you positive 35, but add up together to give you negative 12. That would be negative 7 and negative 5. Two numbers that multiply together to give you positive 63, but add up together to give you negative 16. That would be negative 9 and negative 7. And now that I have a product in numerator and denominator, I can make my cancellations. And this is what we're left with. You cannot cancel the x's there. You no longer have a product in numerator and denominator. Now in WebWorks, how would you answer this? You have more than one term in the numerator, so you must put it in parentheses. And you have more than one term in the denominator, so you must put that in parentheses. That's how you would have to put this in WebWork. Okay, what about something like this? Well, you're going to have to try and factor numerator and denominator because you can't do any cancellation here at all, the way it is. You cannot say the x squares cancels. They don't. So now this is a more complicated way to factor. I need to find 21 times 8. Let me make sure I've got it in the screen. Okay, so 21 times 8 is 168. And so I need two numbers whose product is 168, but they add up to negative 34. Okay, so there's different ways you can do 168. We have 21 times 8. We have 7 times 24. And we also have, there's other way, 28 times 6. And to get, I want my product to be positive 168, and I want them to add up to negative 34. Okay, so these aren't going to do. This is going to be the one, but I need both of those to be negative, so that should work. Negative 28 times negative 6 is positive 168, and negative 28 plus negative 6 is negative 34. So those are the two numbers that I'm going to rewrite negative 34x. So this is the more complicated way to factor. So from lab 1. And then I'm going to need to do the same for this one here in the denominator. So I need 14 times 6 is 84. So I need two numbers that multiply together to give me 84, and then they add up together to give me negative 25. Okay, so 84, one coupling is 21 and 4. Oh, that should do it if I change them to negative. So negative 21 times negative 4 is positive 84. And negative 21 plus negative 4 is negative 25. So I'm going to replace this negative 25x with minus 21x minus 4x. Okay, so now I'm going to group these together. Okay. So with this first grouping, I can factor out a 7 and an x. And I'm going to be left with, well, 21 divided by 7 is 3, and x squared take away an x is x. Then minus 28x divided by 7x is going to be minus 4. Then, since this leading term is negative, I need to factor out what they have in common in negative. So I'm going to 6 and 8 will have a 2 in common, but this leading term here is negative, so I'm going to factor out a negative 2. So negative 6x divided by negative 2 is 3x, and 8 divided by negative 2 is minus 4. And you can see I'll have a 3x minus 4 in common, and then what's going to go here is 7x minus 2. Okay, so that's my numerator. Now for my denominator. 4x squared minus 21x. Well, again, 14 and 21 have a 7 in common. I'm going to take out a 7x. And 14x squared divided by 7x will leave me 2x. And negative 21x divided by 7x will leave me with a minus 3. And then again, this leading term here is negative, so I'm going to factor out a negative. Now, what do 4 and 6 have in common? Well, they also have a 2 in common as well. So negative 4x divided by negative 2 is going to be 2x, and 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3. So these terms have a 2x minus 3 in common, and then what's going to go here is going to be 7x minus 2. And you can see now I have a product in numerator and denominator, so the 7x minus 2's cancel, and I'm left with 3x minus 4 over 2x minus 3. That's my answer in lowest terms. If I'm writing my answer in WebWork, I have more than one term in the numerator, so I have to put it in parentheses. And I have more than one term in the denominator, so I have to put that in parentheses. That's how we'd write the answer in WebWork. Okay, now let's see what else we could have. What if we had something like this? So that's a 30. And you're asked to write this in lowest terms. Okay. Well, it's multiplication, so we're going to put them together into one fraction. So they will go together in one fraction. Now we need to factor. 25x minus 30, they have a 5 in common, so that can be factored out. 35 is 7 times 5. 125 is 5 cubed, or 5 times 5 times 5. And 5x minus 6, I can't do anything with that. Now I have a product in the numerator, product in the denominator, and I've written everything in lowest terms, so these 5's will cancel because I have a product. This 5x minus 6's, they'll cancel. The 7 doesn't cancel, but the 5's, I have another set of 5's that cancel. So after all that cancellation, I'm left with 7/5, and that's my answer. Okay, in WebWork, we would just write it like that. Okay. What if you have something like this? Okay, well, we could work on these separately. If I look at 10, that's the same as 2 times 5. So the 2's cancel. And 15x is 5 times 3. And 9 is 3 times 3. So I can cancel the 3's. And so this will become x squared over 5y squared divided by 5x over 3y. And now, when you divide rational expressions, you take the first one as it is, then you multiply it by the flip of the second one. And now these will go together into one fraction. Now I like to rearrange. Let's put all the numbers out the front and the letters in alphabetical order. So this will become 3 times x squared times y. And out the front here I'll have 5 times 5 x times y squared. And you can see, you can actually divide that into numbers and letters. So I don't have any cancellation with the numbers. I'll end up with 3 over 25. Now here I have x squared, which is x times x in the numerator. So you could write that as x times x if you like. And so one of the x's cancels, and I'm left with x over 1. And here I have y over y squared, which is y times y. So one of those y's will cancel. And then I can put this back into one fraction. And in the numerator, I'll have 3 times x times 1. And in the denominator, I'll have 25 times 1 times y. So that's one way you could have done that. In WebWork, you have more than one term in the numerator. You're going to have to put it in parentheses. And you have more than one term in the denominator. So this is how it'll have to be entered when you do it in WebWork. Okay. So let's see what else we have here. If I had something like I had that. How would I simplify that? Okay, well, let's kind of work on these. I can factor this. Two numbers that multiply together to give me positive 15, but add up together to give me negative 8. That'd be negative 5 and negative 3. That's a difference of squares. And it was covered in the Lab 1 example sheet PDF. And this is two numbers that multiply together to give me negative, no, sorry, let me change that. I want that to be, let me have that 22 and let me have that minus 75. Okay. Let me just, so minus 22x. So let me just change that problem. Okay. So are there two numbers that multiply together to give us negative 75, but at the same time they add up together to give us negative 22? Okay, well, 25 times 3 is 75, so negative 25 and positive 3 should do it. Because negative 25 times 3 is negative 75, and negative 25 plus 3 is negative 22. And x plus 3 all squared is just x plus 3 times x plus 3. Okay, now before I do this, let's do some cancellation with the separate ones. Okay, so I'm going to have x minus 5 over x plus 3 divided by x minus 25 over x plus 3. And with division, it's going to be the first one as it is, multiplied by the flip of the second one. And so I'm going to have these together in one fraction, rational expression. And so now the x plus 3's cancel. And that's my answer. Do not ruin it by saying, oh, I can cancel the x's. You cannot. Do not ruin it by trying to cancel a 5 in with the 20. You cannot, because we no longer have a product. And in WebWorks, you have more than one term in the numerator. Okay, and so that would end up like that. Okay. All right, and a last one. What if you have something